Hey everyone, it's me. I'm back. Today I'm going to make a video for you um, that is actually geared towards teens. And before I begin, I would like to invite you all, if you have a teen in your life that comes to mind, or even just an adult, really, because I think that there's so many commonalities between what I'm going to be saying here. Um, Send it to them, share it with them. Have this not be something that you keep for yourself. This is, I think, going to be a very important tool. um, it's about coping skills, and specifically around stress, difficult emotions, maybe feeling depression, anxiety. These are all things that I know are common for a lot of people, not just teens. But because I've been working with teens lately as well as adults, it's just top of mind for me. And I wanted to create this video to be somewhat informative for teens. So if you're a teenager and you're watching now, awesome. I'm glad you're here. If you're feeling difficult feelings and really not knowing how to get motivated or where to start, this is going to be a great video for you. So let's get started. Um, First of all, there are many different things you will find. I hope this isn't making too much noise. There we go. That might be helpful. There's many different videos that you're going to find around how to not be depressed or not be anxious. And you might, if you've gone to a doctor and spoken to a doctor about it, a lot of people will say a lot of different things. And what I'm about to say is my own opinion. So I would suggest sticking with what feels best for you. But I've chosen 4 things that you can do to actually tap into your emotions a little bit deeper and help you through difficult times. I think something that happens a lot is that we try to force ourselves through our feelings. And what I mean by that is, like, we try to just like be positive, or like put a mask on, or think that there's something wrong with us. So maybe if we worked a little harder, maybe if we, did X, Y, and Z, we wouldn't feel so stuck. And I just feel like that's such a poor way of really managing emotions. We're all human, whatever age you're at. And that means that when you have feelings like depression or anxiety coming up for you, just like everybody else does, it shouldn't just be chalked up to you not functioning correctly or something being wrong with you. There are many different factors that contribute. And especially as teens, I think that you're dealing with a lot of pressure pressure to deal with things in school, with your friends, but also, like, what am I going to be when I grow up? You start hearing that question. What career am I going to have? I have to have, these things figured out. I have to have these social circles. And it's just a lot to deal with as you're also going through a lot of changes with your body, going through puberty, having your menstrual cycle come. um, there's so much going on, and you still don't have total autonomy because you're not an adult. And so that can also feel really frustrating too, and conflicting, because you're trying to become an individual, you're trying to figure out your own identity, your sexuality maybe, and you also are needing to abide by certain rules. You're living at home typically. There's you're going to school, you're having to listen to authority. There's a lot of stuff going on. And so, number one, just like, well, this isn't the number one, but I'm going to blanket statement this whole video by saying you are a human being, and anyone in your position would feel just as stressed out. It's a lot coming at you all at once. So please don't think that there's anything wrong with you. Um, there's not. Okay. So, number one, I like to call this emotional release. So sometimes when you're feeling really stressed out or really unmotivated, what that typically signifies is that you have a lot of stuff buried down. When I think of depressed, I think of like pressed down, pressurized, or repressed, or suppressed. These all kind of go hand in hand. And a lot of times when we're growing up, there can be a lot of dramatic things that happen in our lives, sometimes traumatic. Our parents might be going through a divorce, or we might be having trouble with our siblings, or, something might be going on that isn't necessarily, healthy. And so, really figuring out like, what is it that I'm holding inside that just needs to come out? Is there anger that you need to be feeling in some direction? Is there sadness? When you hold that inside of you, you tend to point that emotion towards you. You tend to be self angry, sad with yourself rather than the situation that happened, which is the healthier option. So, releasing those emotions is the healthier option. And what I mean by release is just talking to somebody about it. If you don't want to talk to somebody about it, if you can't trust anybody to talk about it with, there's a lot of hotlines you can call. You can also journal about it. I know when I was younger, I used to journal. It, may feel sort of silly at first, and those feelings may feel really heavy to come up. But I promise you, it's very natural. They need to be expressed. And it's probably a big contributing factor to why you feel stuck or unmotivated or overly stressed out and burnt out is there's some emotions in there that have just been stuffed down that need some processing. So emotional release is the first one. Um, Sometimes you could even like scream in a pillow. That's a form of emotional release. I know it sounds crazy, but it super works. You're a human being. Anytime we're angry, as humans, we need to shake it off, we need to express it, or else it just kind of gets lodged in our bodies and we become just kind of like stagnant. So, however it is that you want to express it. That way it doesn't kind of blow up later in different like forms, like numbing yourself or having like dangerous thoughts. You want to be able to express it with someone you trust or in a private environment where you know that you feel safe. Number two, we're going to call this grounding or presence. So sometimes when you're kind of like spinning out in an anxious state, there can be this sense of like, what's going to happen to me? What's going to happen in life? How will I know everything's going to be okay? We start to like worry about the future, and we start to kind of fortune tell our future. We try to guess things before they happen. And all of a sudden, we can't connect with what's right in front of us. It's hard to focus. We're not sleeping at night. So, grounding means actually doing things that bring you back into the present moment. So, you're not like, a year in the future or a few months in the future worrying about like he said, she said, what's going to happen, XYZ. Um, and the ways that you can ground or do some grounding or presence or mindfulness practices are to do things that have to do with your senses. So, turn on some good music so you're listening, that your hearing sense is activated. Some music that's going to get you in a different, more light mood, or any kind of music really that's going to bring you back into like, that feels good. So that's taking you out of that anxious space and putting you back into your body in the present space. Another thing you could do is um, something with your hands. I like to do like different crafts or writing, anything that has to do with the senses. Another thing is looking at art, going to an art museum maybe, or looking at nature. So visual, sensory activation. Another thing you could do is smell. I love lighting incense, or I have this Palo Santo stick, which is like very hippie, but it smells so good to me. And anytime I feel myself kind of wandering off and having a hard time focusing, I light a little bit of it, or light an incense or a candle, or even have like a room spray. I have like this room spray here too, and it just kind of like helps bring me back into the moment. So grounding and presence is super important when you're starting to get overwhelmed with your thoughts. The next thing is, so step number 3 or item number 3 is self compassion. Okay. So this, you might have heard the term like self love or self care. And I know that feels a little cheesy to some, but there is definitely benefits to it. But we're going to refer to this as self compassion instead of self love or self care, which I have definitely think is very useful. We're going to look at self compassion, which is just this idea rather than an action. This idea that you deserve to feel how you feel. You deserve compassion. Compassion meaning I accept me for what I am, and I love me for what I am and who I am. And being able to say, it's okay if you're feeling off today. That's a compassionate phrase to say, right? Like, it's okay if you're not okay. You have permission to feel all of your emotions. That's a very compassionate way of talking to yourself and looking at yourself, instead of saying, why do I feel this way? I shouldn't be feeling this way. Or, man, I wish I should have gotten that right. Or all these shoulds. Being able to be compassionate with whatever it is that you're going through and saying, oh, poor me. I deserve a hug. I deserve some love right now. I deserve some extra care. I've been through a lot. Maybe you switched schools recently. Maybe you had a friendship fallout. Maybe there's some trouble at home that's going on. If you're sad about it, that's okay. You should talk to somebody about it, but if at the very least all that is you giving yourself a hug and being like, you've been through so much lately. It's okay to be sad. This will pass, but it's okay to be sad right now. That's a really great way to show compassion towards yourself and not be somebody who's trying to just move on really quickly and move on really quickly. I think it's best to feel your feelings and just to say like, hey, it's all good. Like, this is human. This is normal. I'm a human being. Just because I'm a teenager doesn't mean I have to be any sort of way, because you are human. We're all human. We all deserve that. The fourth thing I want to talk about is sort of a bonus. And this is something that I work on with my adult clients as well. And so when I work with teens, they often don't expect me to go this route. But teenagers are just tiny adults. I think that we all need to like think of teens as also human, obviously, like I've been saying, but who are figuring out what matters most to them. And so the thing that I want to talk about, number 4, is values and vision. Oftentimes, as teens, we don't get asked what it is that is most important to us. We're asked like, well, what do you want to do? Or we're told what we are supposed to be doing, or we're expected to, have these certain things in our lives and behave these certain ways. With values and vision, this is where you decide what it is that's most important to you. So what are the things in your life right now? And like, they're going to change as you grow, and they change for everybody. So you don't have to say like, oh, forever and ever, I'm only going to focus on these 5 values. You can just be like, right now, as a 15, 16-year-old, this is what matters most to me. So figuring out what 5 things matter. And what I mean by that is like, refer to things like relationships or adventure or fun or growth. Like, what ideas matter most to you? I'm not talking about like, what matters most to me right now is like this really specific getting a new car. Like that might be something that you're really focused on right now, but what about getting that new car would you be feeling? Would you be feeling a sense of accomplishment? Is so write down accomplishment, or maybe motivation is important to you, or optimism. So figuring out different terms and sort of like nailing them down to just 5 things. So at the very least, these are my non-negotiables, and figuring out if my non negotiables were met. So, say motivation is one of them. If motivation in my life felt like a value that I'm totally living by, then what does that look like? That looks like me waking up each day and being ready for the day and being excited about what it is that I'm accomplishing, or being looking forward to what more I can learn. Maybe that's what motivation means to you. So, getting really clear on your definitions of each of your values is super important. And doing this in a way that this is where you might like hire a coach or someone like me to help you through that, but doing it in a way that isn't asking someone else for what they think. I think it's important as a teenager to start developing your own ideas of what's important for you. You're an individual, you're becoming an adult soon. Get clear on what it is that you want to see in your life. It's not going to be the same as what anyone is going to be telling you. So it's important for you to have the freedom to choose those things for yourself and to start practicing that. So that's my fourth and final little tip. And I hope this really helped. I'm curious what you think, or if you've tried any of these things. And if you need any extra support, I hope you reach out to me. I would love to speak with you. Otherwise, take care of yourself. And the blanket statement that I said in the very beginning, which is, you're human, like, there's nothing wrong with you. Feeling extra stressed, extra anxious, extra depressed, that's a normal thing a lot of people feel. So try and looking at yourself with a ton of compassion, I think, is really key here. All right, that's all I have for you today. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Bye.